Thanks everyone for coming out on kind of a rainy and unpleasant morning where it's probably much more tempting to just stay under the covers. It was at my house this morning, but my kids got me out of bed bright and early. Also, I just wanted to say thanks to the Carnegie Center for not just inviting me to speak today, but also inviting me to be a juror for the Form Not Function exhibit this year. It was actually all three of the jurors when we talked about the works really talked about what a humbling experience it was, and I think it's a great testament to the Carnegie Center that the sheer number of works and the quality of the works that were submitted for the exhibit speaks a lot about the reputation of both the Form Not Function exhibit and the Carnegie Center as well. So congratulations on building that exhibit and really gaining a great reputation for it.
Thank you.
So I'm going to talk today about my work with indigo, and I'm just going to kind of jump in here.
Wow. I imagine the discovery of indigo by humans, who knows, tens of thousands of years ago, really is a discovery of pure amazement. Plucked from the plants and squished, the indican so long concealed in the leaves comes into contact with the air and oxidizes and turns blue. The squished leaves wash off, but that blue remains, a reminder of how our perception of things, those green leaves on that plant, can be very different from reality. In a primal way, this gets at my own interest in natural dyes and indigo in particular. Through the discovery of the colors concealed in plants and the process of transferring that color to cloth, I have a window through which to rediscover the world I inhabit. It's a simple premise, really, that like whoever it was who discovered the blue hidden in indigo leaves thousands of years ago, I'm exploring and charting my relationship to the world I inhabit in a way that is at once so old, yet so new. So, in a way, the world's not as we see it, yet it's as we choose to see it. Through making and craft in particular, I feel deeply connected to everyone who's ever worked with these processes and traditions before me, and at the same time, those of us working here today bear the responsibility of carrying these traditions forward into the future by making them relevant to the 21st century. The freshness of discovery, the wonder and amazement that are revealed to me again and again in the process of extracting color from a plant and capturing it in fiber really go beyond any words I possess. And then there are the plants that speak so powerfully about the worlds they inhabit, the soil, air, and rain that gave them form, and in the case of sumac, like you see here, the deer and birds, squirrels, and humans that have all relied on this plant as a source of food. Then there's all that our botanical and taxonomic studies tell us about the plants as well as ourselves. There's no end to the discoveries when working with plants, only the realization that there's always a lot more to learn. But for me, right now, this image kind of sums up where I am. Its profundity has left me a little dumbstruck, and in my own work, I'm trying to find a way to help me convey all that the simple act of squishing an indigo leaf in my hand does. So some of you may be familiar with the work of Fritz Haig. Fritz Haig is trained as an architect, and his work, he's an artist, and his work includes performance, education, and radical gardening, like his ongoing Edible Estates project, where he works with various community groups and homeowners to transform grassy lawns into food-producing garden plots in what he describes as an attack on the American front lawn and everything it's come to represent. Haig's artistic endeavors hinge on the belief that the acts of living and making are inseparably connected. So this is a picture of Fritz Haig from a New York Times article, and he's holding a teapot made by Richard Bresnahan. And Bresnahan runs the St. John's Ceramics program in Minnesota, and it's a program that's well known for using local materials. So it's clay, it's glazes, the wood that he uses for kiln fuel are all from the immediate area there. And in this article, Haig stated that he was in the process of getting rid of his possessions to lighten his impact on the world. This is really a symbolic move that speaks strongly to the post-studio movement, in which being an artist has more to do with how we engage the world than the production of precious objects. Yet in the same New York Times article, Haig said that as he's lightening his load, this teapot is one of the only things he's keeping. He bought the pot, a traditional Japanese double gourd shape, several years ago on a return visit with his father to the campus of St. John's, where his father went to school and where Haig grew up. He's quoted as saying, "The first time I visited Bresnahan's studio, I was blown away. This teapot is part of the art world that's really been marginalized. Handcrafts and the stories of how things are made. I don't think many artists think about where their materials come from." With this, Haig presents an idea that's central to my own work as an artist. Really the idea that drew me to textiles as a medium in the first place while living in Japan. The idea that where materials comes from does matter, and that the materials and processes through which objects are made carry meaning in and of themselves. As time progresses and certain materials and processes become outmoded or obsolete, their meanings shift and are seen in a whole new light. To illustrate this latter idea, that our perception of certain actions change with changing circumstances, consider another time in relatively recent American history when people ripped up their lawns and turned them into gardens as a means of producing their own food. Certainly Haig's Edible Estates project is on the surface no different from what the US government asked of citizens during World War II with the planting of victory gardens. But in the context of early 20th century suburban sprawl, with the natural resource drain of lawns and our own societal disconnect from our food sources, all of a sudden the act of transforming a suburban lawn into a source of food independence becomes a stance against all that the lawn symbolizes in America.